Big news for Patriot fans. Myself, the Patriots signed Stefon Diggs to a 3-year, $69 million contract with $26 million guaranteed. When they hosted him for a visit last week and then he left without a contract, I had two thoughts. One, it's still the same Robert Kraft. They're not going to spend money on a receiver. And two, maybe he's just not ready and he's not healing up from that ACL. But they did it. So tell me, like, how do you rank this addition to the roster? Does it do much to elevate them? I want to hear your thoughts on it.
So, yes, it does. Because you know me, I've always been an advocate of, like, you can't have a quarterback really test who he is without giving him a real wide receiver to throw the ball to. And especially without having, any semblance of a wide receiver to throw the ball to, because that's what the Patriots were at. And, Drake Maye still looked pretty good last year. So I love the move.
1-9. Just remember that. 1-9.
1-9, yeah, but he looked good. He looked. There's moments where,
Sure.
he passed the eye test of a quarterback with a ceiling that can actually do something in this league. But adding Diggs to the roster does a lot. You know what I mean? And I'm intrigued to get your point of view on it because, you're actually the Patriots fan. But from, like, an outsider's perspective, it does a lot because it adds a reliable target. It adds a professionalism to that wide receiver room. It adds a veteran to that wide receiver room. It adds a lot of what you guys were begging for. So, to me, it definitely takes the Patriots up a notch in my book. And it takes Drake Maye's potential up another level. I mean, what do you think? Do you think there was an overpay? Like, what are your opinions on Diggs?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do think it's an overpay, but I think that that's just a byproduct of where the Patriots are right now, right? I mean, the most blistering report is that essentially, Robert Kraft, Elliott Wolf, whoever, said, Chris Godwin, here is a blank check. You just fill in what you want, and you can be a New England Patriot. And he said, nah, I'll stay in Tampa for about $20 to $30 million less, right? So that's where you are. You're back. You're coming off of back-to-back 4-win seasons. You don't have a wide receiving core, so yeah, we're in a situation where you're going to have to overpay. I hear a lot of people talking, on sports talk and across on whatever, that he's not a true number one. Sure, I think he's a little bit older, right? He's coming off of a torn ACL, but he is a Patriots number one wide receiver. I would argue that in 2012, or sorry, in 2011, people weren't saying that Wes Welker was a number one wide receiver. He is, right? It's different.
He was a
It's
slot.
Josh
He was a
McDaniels'
slot
system.
receiver. It's different. Yeah.
He had 5 straight seasons of 100 plus catches. So would you say that's number one receiving metrics?
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yep.
Okay. And then he left, and Julian Edelman becomes that same person, right? So Julian Edelman would not have been on anyone's radar as a number one wide receiver. The long way of me saying, I think he's a number one wide receiver for us, and I think it's good because I've been beating this drum for about a year and a half. The Patriots have 3 really good number 2s, but not one of them could be a number one. And that's what we've been struggling with over the last 2 years. Now Stefon Diggs is your number one. I'd say Kendrick Bourne's a really good number 2. I'd say that Kayshon Boutte is a really good number 3. Pop Douglas is a really good number 3. And then you still have Mack Hollins. Who knows? But that's a pretty formidable wide receiver room. Now, the thing for me is, how does he look? How does Stefon look when he tries to make those cuts? Right? Because we all know, the DK loves saying this, like, people just come back looking better than ever after a torn ACL. But he has now been in the league for 10 years. He's in his 30s. There's wear and tear. So that's on my mind. And, oh, by the way, if you do nothing else and he gets hurt, you're just right back to square one.
Right. And it's not like you guaranteed that much. What was it? 24 million guaranteed? So
yeah, 26 mil.
26, yeah. So on the spectrum of, like, guaranteed money, it's not that high either. I think what you said there about the depth chart moving down a spot, everyone moving down a spot is such a big thing, because when you have guys playing, when you have guys that are supposed to be number 3 wide receivers playing number 1 wide receiver. It's such a big deal. And even a guy like Mack Hollins, right? You saw him in Buffalo last year where he elevated himself to technically he was their 1 coming down the stretch. He was him and
It was like him, Khalil Shakir, like they were pretty close. They were neck and neck.
right. So and it was Mack Hollins making the big plays. So you have him as a 2 and Diggs as a 1. I mean, you're really looking at a real wide receiver group rather than a group of guys who, you know what I mean, who are likely to underachieve. Now you're looking at a group of guys who actually has a ceiling to possibly, you know, have a Pro Bowler out of that bunch. So I think it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah. Well, like, just think about it this way. If the Cowboys and Patriots played each other last year, it would be Kendrick Bourne and or Kayshon Boutte matching up against Diggs. Right?
Right.
Diggs is going to win that battle every single time. Twice on Sunday. We saw it. Now, it would be brother on brother. Like, Stefon Diggs will garner the number 1 corner and the most attention. And it should free up everybody else. It should, in theory.
Yeah, and I don't think a torn ACL in today's NFL is really as much as a setback as it used to be, for sure. You know, I mean, we've seen guys come back and as you said, DK said, be even better off torn ACLs. I mean, we've seen it multiple times from multiple guys in the NFL. So, how does this change?
I mean, the most glaring example is Adrian Peterson, right?
Right. I mean, that's the number 1. He came back and had 2,000 yards rushing after a torn ACL, like 9 months later? I mean, he's a super freak. He's a superhuman, right. So I wouldn't expect Diggs to do that. But, I mean, with today's NFL advancements in you know, medical and everything like that, it's definitely possible. What does this change for the outlook of the season for you? Do you think that are playoffs a possibility now, or is this still another rebuilding year? And, you know, so actually, let me ask this question: What is the success for the season for the Patriots this year?
Okay, so if they're trying to do what the Bengals did 3 years ago, where they said, fuck the O-line, we're just going to give our quarterback a number 1 weapon, I would tell you that Stefon Diggs is no Jamar Chase.
That's
right.
That's literally what I was going to say. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like the poor man's version of the Bengals, what they did 2 to 3 years ago. However, I do think because of how bad they were last year, that their strength of schedule this year is going to be, it's going to be beneficial to them. Very beneficial to them. So I had them before Stefon Diggs as a 7-win team, just because I think that they have more competent coaching. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 former NFL head coaches on this coaching staff. So I love that. They made improvements to the defense. That's great. But with this, I think they're flirting with anywhere between 8 to 9 wins. And 9 wins in the AFC, I think you're fighting for a playoff spot. And hopefully, you know, December just isn't throwaway football for the 4th straight year. Yeah,
I think that's the success, right? If the Patriots are playing meaningful football in December, this season has been an incredible success.